Imagine someone proves, logically, step by step, that if you want your friend to become wise, you want your friend to die. That argument was made in Athens around 380 BCE, and the crowd applauded. Plato wrote it down, not because it was clever, but because it terrified him. The dialogue is called the Euthydemus. It's Plato's funniest work, and possibly his most unsettling. At its center sits a two-letter word, is, and the catastrophic things that happen when an entire society fails to notice it carries two different meanings. To understand how this trick works, we need to meet the people in the room. Socrates recounts a visit to a gymnasium in Athens. Two brothers have sat up there, Euthydemus and Dionysodorus, former martial arts instructors who reinvented themselves as professional arguers. Their method, heuristic, from the Greek eris, meaning strife, argumentative technique aimed purely at winning, never at truth. Their volunteer today, a young man named Cleinias, standing protectively nearby, Euthydemus, Cleinias' companion who will matter more than anyone expects, and encircling them all, the crowd. Athenian citizens gather to watch the intellectual spectacle. One detail shapes everything that follows. This is a framed narrative. Socrates is retelling the whole scene to a friend named Crito. He has ironic distance from what he describes. He was in the room. He saw the trick work, and he saw exactly who clapped. Now the argument. Dionysodorus asks the group, "Do you want Cleinias to become wise?" Everyone says yes. Step 1. You want Cleinias to become wise. Step 2. He is not yet wise. Correct, correct. Step 3. You want him to become what he is not. This follows from the first two steps. Step 4. Here the floor drops out. To become what one is not means to cease to be what one is. To cease to be is to perish. Step 5. You want Cleinias dead. Silence. Then applause. Every step appeared to follow from the last. But something broke between steps 3 and 4. The phrase, what he is not, shifted meaning mid-argument. In step 3 is not meant lacks a quality. Cleinias lacks wisdom. That's the copula, the verb to be, linking subject to predicate. It assigns a property, attribution. By step 4, is not, slid into meaning, does not exist. The existential sense, one tiny pivot on the word is. The Greek verb einai carries both senses in one word. The brothers built their trap inside that ambiguity, and nobody in the room saw it close. Let's make the distinction crisp. Attribution. Cleinias is wise, assigns a property to the subject. Negated. Cleinias is not wise. He lacks wisdom, but he still exists. Identity and existence. Cleinias is Cleinias equates two things. Negated. Cleinias is not. He does not exist. Same verb, opposite consequences. The brothers crossed from the first sense to the second inside a single sentence. That crossing is the equivocation. Once you see it, the argument dissolves. But you have to know to look. So the trick is clear, but here's what makes it dangerous. In ordinary speech, Greek and English alike, both senses of to be hide behind the same word. The equivocation is invisible unless you stop mid-argument to analyze it, and the live audience never stops. The brothers knew this. They delivered arguments at speed, demanding binary yes or no answers, giving no time for qualification or nuance. You either agree or look foolish in front of the crowd. This is not a historical curiosity. Any public forum that rewards speed and confident delivery over careful analysis produces the conditions for exactly this trick. Chain a sequence of plausible sounding steps together, move fast enough, and the conclusion lands before anyone can examine the links. The Athenian gymnasium was a prototype of every public space where verbal performance defeats patient thought. Now meet Euthydemus. His Cleinias' companion, young, protective, furious at the brothers' treatment of his friend. He watches their technique for just a few rounds. Then something remarkable happens. he starts using it himself. Ctesippus deploys the exact same fallacious argument structures right back at Euthydemus and Dionysodorus. He improvises entirely new heuristic traps on the spot without any instruction, and the crowd applauds him with exactly the same enthusiasm they gave the professional brothers. This is Plato's most devastating demonstration. If a bystander picks up your method through passive observation in just a few minutes, your method requires zero philosophical skill. It's a parlor trick, not a discipline. Heuristic is infinitely replicable. Watch, copy, win applause. No understanding required, no commitment to truth necessary. The contrast cuts to the bone. Heuristic aims to win the exchange. Socratic dialectic, the method of philosophical questioning Socrates practices, aims to find truth through collaborative inquiry. Heuristic exploits ambiguity and forces binary answers. Dialectic asks open questions and welcomes qualified responses. Heuristic requires no training, learnable by observation alone in minutes. Dialectic demands years of practice, genuine knowledge, and willingness to be refuted. The decisive test, if a bystander can replicate your method after 5 minutes of watching, it isn't philosophy. Ctesippus passed that test effortlessly. Between the comic rounds of heuristic, Socrates delivers something the brothers never could, a protratic, a speech that turns a listener toward virtue. He addresses Cleinias directly, urging him to pursue wisdom as the foundation of a good life. Plato placed this here with full intention. Even inside a farce, Socrates refuses to abandon moral seriousness. The protratic is what heuristic can never touch, a sincere attempt to make someone's life genuinely better. Now step outside the gymnasium. Look at the city around it. The audience inside, citizens who applauded the brothers, Ctesippus and Socrates with equal enthusiasm. These are not just spectators. These are Athenian voters, members of the demos. They watched heuristic and philosophy perform side by side and could not tell the difference. This is Plato's diagnosis of civic catastrophe. In 399 BCE, an Athenian jury of 500 citizens voted to execute Socrates, the formal charge corrupting the youth. The real mechanism, jurors who confused Socratic questioning with sophistic word games. They had never learned to distinguish the man seeking truth from the man exploiting language. The same failure of discernment that made the gymnasium crowd applaud, everyone equally made the courtroom crowd condemn the one person practicing genuine philosophy. The Euthydemus is Plato's warning. When a democracy rewards cleverness over truth, the truth seeker becomes the first casualty. Socrates closes the encounter with mock praise. He tells the brothers their art is tremendously valuable, so valuable they must keep it secret, sharing it with no one. The surface reads as flattery. The brothers beam with satisfaction. Beneath the compliment, a verdict. Their technique is worthless and dangerous, and the fewer people who learn it, the safer Athens will be. They miss the irony entirely. And here is the deepest layer. The advice went unheeded. Heuristic did proliferate, the crowds kept clapping, the philosopher was put to death. Plato wrote the Euthydemus as a comedy. He just didn't think it was very funny.